Greetings, welcome. This is the Ministry of the Real Truth, coming to you from New Zealand. We're in the middle of winter here, or pretty much near the end of winter, I think, and it's freezing as well. That's our problem for being too close to Antarctica. I sometimes peruse these hospices or these second-hand furniture bric-a-brac shops, like hospice, Salvation Army, etc. And I come across books that catch my eye, and I read the back cover, whatever, and they seem really interesting. But as I have thousands and thousands of books, I never actually read many of them or near any of them. Yeah, but I do have this one here, The Last Pope, as you can see in this picture here, by The Prophecies of Saint Malachy for the New Millennium by John Hogue, author of the bestseller, I think it says Nostradamus. Okay. The 12th century Irish seer Saint Malachy prophesied an end to the Roman Catholic Church and predicted the fates of the popes until Judgment Day. After John Paul II dies, only 2 popes remain on the doomsday list. Will this forbidding prophetic coda of a Catholic apocalypse be fulfilled? Yeah, it's a pretty thick book. In what looks like, there's the glasses, I think it says 1139, I'm not really sure, can't see it yet, but have a look. Yeah, in 1139 Saint Malachy set out from Ireland on a harrowing pilgrimage to Rome. On sighting the Eternal City, he fell to the ground and began murmuring cryptic Latin phrases, each signifying the future destiny of the popes. For 400 years the manuscript was locked in the labyrinth of the Vatican. On its rediscovery in 1595, it was rejected by the church authorities as fraudulent, but the content of the prophecies remains remarkably and chillingly accurate. To this day, 90% have come true. In examining the context of Saint Malachy's life, his pilgrimages and his miracles, John Hogue presents a fascinating account of the fates of the popes and 800 years of Catholic prophecy, including those of contemporaries Saint Hildegard von Bingen, Joachim de Fiore, and Nostradamus, whose vision of the papal succession closely resembles that of Saint Malachy. In this first complete study of the prophecies in almost 100 years, Hogue brings his expertise to new revelations regarding the authenticity of the mottos. As the Roman Catholic Church continues to witness an eclipse in papal power, this masterly work uncovers the truth about Saint Malachy's prophecies and reveals their significance as an account of the papal progression which Vatican policy makers have found too threatening to acknowledge. So they're probably shoo-shooing it, ignoring it. John Hogue is the author of the Millennium Book of Prophecy, Nostradamus, the New Revelations, Nostradamus and the Millennium, and Nostradamus, the Complete Prophecies. I have a book here somewhere on Nostradamus. I think it's by an Italian guy. He reread it and he found some amazing things. Yes, this is quite a thick book. If you can get hold of it, might be a good read. The Last Pope. Okay, not going to attempt to try and read it all in one go. John Hogue is considered a world authority on Nostradamus and Millennium prediction. He is the author of several bestsellers, including the Millennium Book of Prophecy and Nostradamus, the Complete Prophecies. His work has brought him international acclaim, and he has appeared on over 200 radio and television shows on 3 continents. He was been widely praised, he has been widely praised for its ability to cut through the social, religious and nationalistic projections of prophets and their interpreters to find what visions of the future are shared by the world's past and present prophetic traditions. The last Pope, the decline and fall of the Church of Rome, the prophecies of St. Malachy for the new millennium, John Hogue, and he has this little dedication here, to that blessed one beyond all dogmas and mafias of the soul. Acknowledgements. Okay, over 4 decades ago, a little babe found his bottom uncomfortably moistened in a baptismal bowl, and the oil-smeared thumb of a Catholic priest dabbed him right between the eyes. I guess this book is that little baby's answer. One of the most cherished persons who made that rendezvous with the oil possible, and all the other incidents in what so far has been an eventful life, is my mother and best friend Irene Hogue. Thank you for your love and help in assisting me to close the holy book on this Catholic chapter in my life. To all those who were not at my baptism but encouraged and assisted with my submersion into the historical depths of the papacy, I wish to thank my beloved woman friend Ashika Janua Kennedy, his agent, and it goes on and on and on. Okay, that's his acknowledgement, giving people credit where it's due. And it has the contents page here, very hard to see because of this light probably. So just give it a brief. It's got acknowledgements, plate illustrations, picture credits, preface, a past and future history of the Pope's introduction, are we 2 popes away from Judgment Day, the life of St. Malachy and how his church became Roman, the grand succession of pontiffs, AD 1143 to 2020, a note on St. Malachy Latin mottos, 1 ex Castro Tiberius from the castle on the Tiber, Celestine II 1143 to 1144, Inimicus expulsus, the enemy driven out, Lucius II 1144 to 1145, ex magnitudine montis from the greatness of a mountain, Eugenius III 1145 to 1153, Abbas Suburanus, a Suburan abbot, Anastasius IV 1153 to 1154, and I guess that's number 1 Pope, I guess, and it goes all the way, I'm going to read them all out, it's going all the way to 110, De Labor Solis, from the Son's Labour, John Paul II 1978 to, well, I think he might have retired or he might be dead. Okay, when was this published? Possibly, let's have a look here. When is this copy published? Should have it here somewhere. Probably around about 1998, sorry. Yeah, looks like it. So yeah, it might be long gone. John Paul II. Okay, it's got heaps of information there. During the last persecution of the Holy Roman Church there shall sit Peter of Rome, who shall feed the sheep amidst many great tribulations. And when these have passed, the city of the 7 hills shall be utterly destroyed, and the awful judge will judge the people. St. Malachy, the final coda of his prophecies, either written by Malachy in 1140 or attributed to him around about 1595. Okay, so this matches the ancient Aramaic, Galilean Aramaic Revelations. I've done a video on that already, on what the prophecies of Revelations really say. That is the Daniel's vision, right, or Balthazar, Daniel, of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. He interpreted it, and said that he was the head of gold, and he went stage by stage, all these great nations, these empires that rule for a time and then they disappear, they fall apart, whatever, destroyed, and it gets to the clay, the feet of clay mixed with mud, and in this in the Daniel's vision or Nebuchadnezzar's dream, this stone comes from heaven, giant stone, and hits those feet, smashing them to tiny pieces, and a great wind comes along and blows them all over the earth. And I think it's about 17, Revelation 17 to 18, this the word, I don't really want to use the word, but let's say this promiscuous woman of Babylon, okay, because a woman represents a symbolic for a false church, okay. Well, a woman is the church, right? It symbolizes the church, but there's this false church, okay, in this empire. It sits on 7 hills, etc., etc. And then suddenly, this group, this faction that really, really hate her, have been given the authority by God to destroy her. So they totally burn her, right? And she's seen no more. Like her goods and everything are not valued anymore. They're not worth anything, right? And etc., etc. We'll put the link to that video, what the prophecies of Revelations really say, so you can see what we're talking about from the Galilean Aramaic Revelations of John, okay, in English. It pretty much matches what Malachi, Saint Malachy here is saying. During the last persecutions of the Holy Roman Church, there shall sit Peter of Rome, it's like a pope I think, who shall feed the sheep amidst many great tribulations, and when these have passed, the city of the 7 hills shall be utterly destroyed, and the awful judge will judge the people. So yeah, in the Aramaic Galilean, or Galilean Aramaic Revelations, there's a world empire that's being set up now, right? Since the Aramaic translator translated it and then it was published was 2015. So between 2015 and 2021, today, right? This world empire is created, okay, and then the whole world is totally annihilated, making room for this holy city of God. God will dwell with the people, and the people will dwell with God. That holy Jerusalem, right? And all that sort of stuff. Okay, check out our video. What the prophecies of Revelations really say. We're not going to go into it. Yeah, be here for another hour. Okay, so a past and future history. This is a preface. A past and future history of the popes. As we approach the year 2000, the Holy Church begins to shiver with the first waves of millennial fever. The time for a fresh and insightful examination of the prophecies attributed to Saint Malachy concerning the near future end of the papacy is needed. The last pope is a unique and unorthodox past and future history of the Roman Catholic Church. Prophecies critical to the understanding of the Church are not repressed here, but are intended as compassionate guidelines to help it undergo its ultimate transformation. Yeah, that's what Pope Francis seems to be hinting at. Right? There must be a great change, because they have a lot of problems with priests molesting children and stuff, and other problems. Okay. So he says it's time for a clean up, a change, a reform. Prophecies critical. The last pope is a unique and unorthodox past and future history of the Roman Catholic Church. Prophecies critical to the understanding of the Church are not repressed here in this book, but are intended as compassionate guidelines to help it undergo its ultimate transformation. We begin with the personal history of Saint Malachy, or it begins with, and examine to what extent his medieval church and mindset were products of pagan Rome's transubstantiation of Christianity over the preceding 11 centuries. After that, we follow the evolution of the church into modern times and then into the future, using Saint Malachy's 111 Latin mottos and doomsday coda to tell the story of the grand succession of popes unto Judgment Day. In unrolling the succession, we will inject Catholic visionaries of doom and revelation in the order of their appearance in history. That's why that long list. The first pope, starting number 1 on the list, was ex Castro Tiberius from the castle on the Tiber, Celestine II, 1143 to 1144, and the last one, okay, is De Labor Solus from the Sun's Labour, John Paul II, 1978 to whenever he resigned or died. The future, 110 on the list, is De Labor Solus from the sun's eclipse, John Paul II in his future. 111, the Gloria Olivae, from the Glory of the Olive, around about 2000 to 2020. Last Pope, Petrus Romanus, around 2020s. Epilogue, Appendix, Select Bibliography and Index. And it's got colour plates, plate illustrations, they see colour plates. Arms of Callistus III, copy from Hans Ingerim's Book of Arms. Arms of Paul II from the St. Gall Book of Arms, and so forth. Okay, so the author begins with the personal history of St. Malachy and examines to what extent his medieval church and mindset were products of pagan Rome's transubstantiation of Christianity over the preceding 11 centuries. After that, we follow the evolution of the church into modern times and then into the future, using St. Malachy's 111 Latin mottos and Doomsday Coda to tell the story of the grand succession of popes unto Judgment Day. In unrolling the succession, we will inject Catholic visionaries of doom and revelation in the order of their appearance and history. Among them you will see the approved and disapproved auguries of St. Hildegard von Bingen, Joachim de Fiore, and the parallel vision of the papal succession from Catholic prophecies. Most controversial seer, Nostradamus. Side by side with the chronological milestones of all Catholic prophecy, we will be the first comprehensive examination of the love, hate, admission, denial relationships that popes have had with their own legacy or plague of Catholic seers. Roughly halfway through the succession, the mottos of St. Malachy suffer a credibility crisis. We scrutinise the sceptical view that the Latin mottos are forgeries from the High Renaissance, and then we put these arguments to the test with a continued examination of the succession of popes up to and beyond our times. As we approach the new millennium, don't forget this was probably written around 2000, 1998 to 2000, published. Also, as we approach the new millennium, the prophecies of St. Malachy and the Catholic seers take on great urgency. We will investigate Pope John Paul's obsession with the prophecies of chastisement and salvation coming from apparitions of the Virgin Mary at Fatima, Garabandal, and Medjugorje. Gorgi, I don't know how to say that. Medjugorje. Medjugorje. Yeah. The last Pope climaxes with a foretaste of the tribulation and apocalypse expected for the remaining two popes on St. Malachy's list, called Gloria of the Olive and Peter of Rome. The final words to the prophecy of St. Malachy are hopelessly doom-laden, but is its author able to see only the darkness left after the door slams on his own age? We will unlock the final seal, if you will, of other Catholic visionaries introduced earlier and compare their warnings of doom and religious rebirth to St. Malachy's final terrifying testament. Introduction. Are we two popes away from Judgment Day? On an early summer's eve in the year 1140, an Archbishop and his attendant monks climbed Janiculum Hill on the western edge of Rome. They ascended the vista to pray in thanksgiving for the safe completion of their 16-month pilgrimage. Afterward they sat upon the hill's ancient brow to marvel at the many churches and magnificent pagan ruins that stood high enough among the tired, tiled and stucco urban jumble below to catch the final blush of the setting sun. Bishop Malachy, reclining on Janiculum Hill with his flock of Irish monks, relaxed against the sensation of the earth exhaling the heat of the day. The wrinkles around his pale eyes softened as the glare of sun-reflected stone surrendered to the cool colours of the approaching night. As he watched the great city slip behind the bed sheets of its lengthening shadows, his attendants saw him begin to cry. Just as Jesus once wept before Jerusalem, a future saint now washed his vision of Rome. But unlike the Messiah, who had been the Irish bishop's reason for dedicating his life to monastic discipline and to the mortification of the flesh, Malachy's tears were the overflow of an inner ecstasy. The bishop cried himself to sleep. His monks stood watch in the darkness over their master, not daring to disturb his motionless form, which seemed cast in a palpable, silent presence. Not long after, the stars defined the shadow spires of Rome, and the trees of Janiculum Hill vibrated with the rhythmic mantras of cicadas. A voice called out within their midst. It was as though a loving finger carefully and softly tapped each man on the shoulder of their contemplation, making them startle. Rome, the bishop's scribe drew close to his master's face. Rome, whispered Malachy again. The scribe could barely make out the movement of his master's lips. The white crescent moons of the bishop's eyes caught the starlight just as his eyelids closed to a trance. For a time his dream gaze moved rapidly, dancing over the topography of some fantastic inner sight. Then they relaxed, and an unknown presence within the man descended to work his lips, letting pass a Latin phrase. Normal sleep seemed to return for a time before the eyes of the bishop would rove across the inner screen of a new vision, and the lips would deposit another phrase. By daybreak, the weary scribe smothered the last of several candles and witnessed the ascension of the rising sun, casting its first blush on the drying quill strokes of 111 Latin phrases, 111 Latin phrases on yellow parchment. The bishop, now awake from his dream, explained that God had given him a vision of every pope to reign after the current pontiff, Innocent II, until the end of time when God would judge the world. Some will say that the facts of this medieval story come to us clothed in the fantasy weave of an apocryphal Renaissance gown. Critics agree that St. Malachy and his monks mounted Janiculum Hill, but claim that no prophecy was uttered there. They say that the scribe who wrote down his ecstatic outpourings did so with fresh Renaissance ink on old medieval parchment 4.5 centuries later. But as we will see, the truth of these prophetic assertions can still cause the whispering cloth of fable to rustle as she strides into our time. And if we can investigate the naked essence of these prophecies without being distracted by the covering of potential myth, we could find before us an authentic and powerful list of predictions chronicling the decline and fall of the Church of Rome. Whether these Latin phrases were composed in 1140 or by someone in the 1590s under the pseudonym of a medieval saint, the author is a prophet. Pseudonym, what's it? Assumed name, like a pen name. If his assertion is true and the papal succession is finite, then we who are alive in the few final years of this second millennium after Christ, we who mark its setting decade in the reign of the frail and aging Pope John Paul II, are but 2 popes away from Judgment Day, the tomorrow they want to sell. We are told that before Malachy and his monks returned to Ireland, they presented Pope Innocent II with a manuscript containing these prophecies. The document passed from his hand to the Vatican's subterranean archives, where it remained forgotten for over 450 years. In the early 1590s, Dom Arnold Wion, a Benedictine historian, discovered the 111 mottos in the Coda of Doomsday at the end of the reign of the last pope, and inserted them in his famous work on Catholic history, Lignum Vitae, published in 1596. For the next few hundred years, the inserted list attracted much attention and controversy, essentially because it dared to rub the Church's nose in a prophetic faux pas. Whoever the author is, Church authorities considered it spiritually incorrect for any Catholic seer to begin a countdown to the end of the Catholic Church. Given a Pope's average life expectancy, the last Pope depicted in these Latin mottos will sit on St. Peter's throne sometime around or shortly after the year 2000. Any document that predicted an end to the Catholic Church and the final destruction of Rome would certainly warrant the launching of an anti-information campaign. Enter the Jesuits, the harshest critics of these prophecies. When the phrases were rediscovered near the close of the 16th century, the priests of the Society of Jesus acted as a papal secret service to defend the faith and sustain orthodoxy. Imagine if operatives in the CIA had uncovered a prophetic document in the Library of Congress containing an accurate prediction of the succession of US presidents up to the final overthrow of the US. Would not the CIA declare it a forgery to protect national security? And if these prophecies were already in the public domain, would not they promote a set of approved visions that contradicted them and painted a rosy future for the US presidency? The author says that is precisely what the defenders of the Vatican's future have done and continue to do. In his quarter-century study of the world's prophetic traditions, he has never encountered a more diligent board of censors for its prophets than that of the Roman Catholic Church. You will not find St. Malachy on the bookshelves of church-run bookstores, nor will you chance upon books by visionaries who even imply that the Church as it exists today might not be around in the coming millennium. The answer why can be found at the beginning of books by Vatican-approved Catholic authors, which display the Lumen Gentium. This proviso is, in essence, instructs the Catholic faithful to remain open to private revelations. However, Lumen Gentium adds that judgments as to their genuineness and their correct use lie with those who lead the Church, and those whose special task is not to extinguish the Spirit, but to examine everything and keep that which is good. Good is defined by the Vatican censors, not by you or me. You will therefore find accounts only from seers that do not put into question the eventual survival and triumph of the hard-pressed Catholic Church during the coming century. The Holy Fathers' homogenized prophecies generally march into the future in the serried ranks and follow chronological expectations. A warning: these are signs from approved seers that the tribulation and second coming of Christ, the bridegroom of Mother Church, are at hand. The miracle, the visitations and mass healing of Christ's Mother, the Blessed Virgin Mary, the rash of divine stigmata and other portents all direct people's attention to a coming miraculous sign from the heavens, which will be seen by everyone on earth. After the miracle, many people will atone and convert to Catholicism, but the majority of humanity will tune it out and be seduced by the Antichrist. Okay, well, it actually says in the book of Revelations in the Galilean Aramaic, translated into English, come out of here, my people, get out of here, right, unless you share in the payback she's going to get, the plagues, yeah, her wrath from God, yeah, it's coming upon them. If it's talking about the Roman Catholic Church, is that certain woman of Babylon, right, the false church, etc., etc. Okay, the chastisement. God sends two final prophets, Elias and Enoch. They are martyred by the Antichrist. The Virgin Mary can no longer stay the angry hand of her Son in heaven, and humanity is punished for its sins. The Church and the faithful are sorely tested by the Antichrist, natural disasters, and Armageddon. Okay, in the video I was telling you about what the prophecies of Revelation really say. Okay, Armageddon has already happened. Okay, go look at that video, but there could be that final Armageddon destroying or annihilating the whole world. Okay, not by man's means, but by God's means. Yeah. Okay, the era of peace. A millennium of peace begins. Christ returns, and upon his divine authority, the Catholic Church, albeit battered and bruised, is restored. The Catholic Church becomes Christ's only church on earth. Okay, well, I don't agree with that because of the Galilean Aramaic, right? Okay, it's totally destroyed. It's not. It won't be seen again. It's disappeared for good. It's gone for good. If it's referring to the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, it sits on 7 hills, etc., etc. The Catholic Church becomes Christ's only church on earth. Again, I don't agree with that. All survivors are converted to Catholicism, even the remaining errant Jews. A Catholic bookstore stocking its shelves according to the dictates of Rome will not represent digressions to the above prophetic dogma. At best, you will see books that question the exact time sequence and degree of guilt and punishment forewarned, but essentially the above scenario gets the Vatican seal of approved futures. It is the tomorrow they want to sell. Yeah? They might be broken, but then they'll recover, and they'll be Christ's only church on earth. Okay. Looking ahead through the rearview mirror. Okay, then there's the life of St. Malachy and how this church became Roman, pride and piety of the early years. Okay. The reluctant primate of Ireland, a pilgrimage to Rome. There's quite a lot here. A new cult of baby eaters. A new cult of baby eaters infests ancient Rome. Oh my gosh. Born Again Rome. Just going through this. Imperial Rome is dead, long live the Roman Church. Put your faith in forgeries. Oh my goodness. A papal audience and a return to Ireland. Prophecies, miracles, and Malachy's final journey. And then it comes up to the next chapter, the grand successor pontiffs, AD 1143 to 2020s, with a question mark. Okay. And here's a note on St. Malachy's Latin mottos. And then it starts at book 1, or yeah, I think it's book 1. Ex Castro Tiberius, from the castle on the Tiber. Celestine II, he's first on the list, 1143 to 1144. Okay. There goes number 2 and number 3. So, going to end it there. Right, go out there and get this book if you can find it. I haven't read it all, but it looks freaking interesting. Okay, so I'm going to make this my daily book to read. Besides the Galilean Aramaic, New Testament. Okay, this looks really good. Okay, I wonder if it matches with Nostradamus' prophecies. Okay. Probably does. We'll have a look at that book as well. And then later on we may do a lengthy live stream on that. We'll do a small series. I think maybe yeah, it'll be interesting to do a live stream of that. Okay, so if you like that, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, add your comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe, set that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our exciting videos, our discoveries. And you can go tell your friends, hey, we should get hold of this book, The Last Pope, Prophecies of St. Malachy, you know, Roman Catholic Church, 2 popes to go, boom, it's all over, maybe. Yeah, tell your friends, if they come across that book, grab it, you know, second-hand shop, whatever. I just happen to be lucky that I found it. Right. Yeah, and we will see you on our next exciting video.